All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are on the last installment of MARKETECH APAC and MessageBird's Connecting the CX Dots in 2023 webinar series. We have already concluded the first two themes, conversational marketing and omni-channel journey mapping. So it's now time to talk about the best strategies for creating more personalized experiences for customers via email campaigns. Now, I'm interested to know where our audience are coming from. I got Suzanne from Hong Kong, and Paul Ramos from the Philippines, and Riley Rian from Malaysia. There you go. I have another interesting question here, and it's very relevant to our topic. Do you think that email marketing is dying? Just say yes or no. Is it dying? No! I like that answer with full conviction. I can see that. Okay, great. It's really interested to know. Susan Nisbet mentioned that I think yes, but apparently not. Later on, we'll have a chat with Susan, but it looks like that everyone who's joining us today believe that it's not dying, right? So really good to know that you are in the right webinar joining. So thank you so much, guys, for participating. As we delve into the depths of this webinar, we will uncover groundbreaking insights and also explore the forefront of email marketing. We are privileged to hear from three industry experts about the power of email marketing in this fast-paced digital world. So without further ado, I am happy to introduce you to our presenter for today, Geraldine Chan, Business Development Manager at MessageBird, who will share about the art and science of impactful email marketing. So she is a firm believer in a customer-first mindset and is passionate about helping companies to drive personalized, relatable, and memorable interactions with their customers. Welcome, Geraldine. How are you?
Hi, Joanne. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be sharing everything with the crowd today. And I see the responses coming in that most people believe that email marketing is not dead. So I guess there's not much convincing required in today's session. But yeah, hopefully provide some insights to all the attendees today. Thanks.
All right. The floor is yours, Geraldine.
Thank you. So before I start, just a little bit about myself. I'm Geraldine, and I'm part of the business development team in MessageBird. So I joined the company slightly over a year ago, and it's been a very fun and fulfilling experience working with customers to drive better business communication experiences for their customers. And I'm really excited to be here today, sharing more on our learnings in the email marketing space. So I have decided to start my sharing today in a very cliche way by cracking a joke, right? So I have a question for everyone in the room today. What is the safest place to hide a body? Let me share the answer. Well, the answer is on the second page of Google. While this is a joke, it's fairly relevant to our agenda today, and it goes to show the short attention span of people nowadays, hence the need to be super relevant to capture attention almost immediately. Now onto something a little bit more serious, an introduction to MessageBird and where I'm from. So MessageBird is a cloud communication platform that helps over 100,000 customers in over 175 countries connect with customers across any channel and create personalized and meaningful experiences. And we believe in a world where talking to a business should be as easy as talking to a friend. And we are in the business of helping organizations achieve rich communication experiences, which in turn translate to tangible business outcomes. And in today's session, we'll be focusing solely on the email channel. So we help the biggest brands successfully reach the inbox and sending over 6 trillion emails every year with over 1.8 billion unique devices reached. So to put it into context, MessageBird sends 40% of all global commercial emails. So chances are you will have received emails that are powered by us. And on a high level, we provide end-to-end email capabilities from email designing to delivery to providing analytics and insights to help optimize your campaigns. All right, I promise that's about all the sales pitch that I'll be doing today. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be talking about why email marketing is still very much relevant in this day and age, sharing some practical ideas and tips to help the marketers and content creators out there to launch more effective campaigns to differentiate yourselves and create genuine and impactful email marketing content. And finally, sharing a new perspective on leveraging competitive data to optimize your campaigns and achieve better results. So let's talk about email marketing. And before I dive into the topic, I would like to share a fun fact. Do you know that email started in 1971? So it's actually 52 years old today. And as much as there are all these fancier channels out there, the likes of your TikTok, Instagram, email is still the #1 channel in terms of communications at workplaces, the primary way for business to be communicating with their customers. And there's over 300 billion emails that are being sent and received every day. So why email? I guess the group today don't need much convincing, but I'm still going to go on and try to convince you even more. So first of all, email is a highly engaging channel. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but do you know that average email engagement times are 1,800% times higher than other areas of digital marketing? Well, that's an amazing number considering the rise in high usage of social media and the might of big screen advertising, but it's not without its merit. So for one, email delivers vastly more content than any other areas of digital marketing. So let me give you an example. A tweet is set amount of characters, possibly with a link. A TV advertisement lasts for usually about 30 seconds and is non-interactive by its very nature. An email, on the other hand, can contain product copy, imagery, links for further exploration, and it can be interactive and much more. And it can all be personalized to the subscriber if you have enough trackable data so that what they receive is special to them. And this creates an opportunity for you to build a relationship and an interactive one which is personalized with the reader. So any further content that you're going to receive, they are already more engaged than they might be on another medium. Also, you can nurture leads, build relationships, and gain loyal customers with email. And this is perhaps one of email's greatest strengths, both in financial outlay and in income. So customers rarely buy at the first email interaction. That's something we all know. And in fact, 73% of people don't. And initial conversion rates at this stage sit at typically about 1.5% on average. So email nurture sequences give you the chance to interact with them more and help them to a stage where they are ready. And email is one of the only channels that can put customers into such an effective and trackable nurture funnel, and perhaps the most effective at it, generating 50% more sales than other lead nurture channels. Now, just think about your long-term strategy, right? Now more than ever, it's important to nurture a relationship with your customers as well as their interest in your products. So customers have values and ideals that brands must fit in order to make a purchase from them. So for example, 81% of your customers actually say that they need to be able to trust the brand that they buy from, while 77% of them buy from brands who share the same values as them. Last, but certainly not the least, email is a trusted channel, and sometimes we forgot how important that is. Well, GDPR has enabled email marketing to become an ethically conscious and trusted medium. So it protects the integrity of email marketing by preventing misuse of data and vastly reducing spam emails, which in turn builds trust in those that use email marketing ethically. While comparing this to social media, on the other hand, is currently undergoing a cultural shift. And with the rise of more data-savvy users, right, our Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, social media companies are much less trusted with personal data than before, especially after arguably unethical behaviors involving data and digital privacy were made public. And as a result of all those, increasing numbers are turning away from platforms and subscriber levels are dropping. But that isn't to say you should drop your social channels. Rather, use them in conjunction with or to supplement your other channels to create multi-channel campaigns. All right, I promise this is the last number slide. And needless to say, there is a massive market for emails with 4.3 billion active email addresses and 8 out of 10 marketers practicing email marketing. But I think what stood out the most for me is the ROI on email marketing. So for every $1 spent, you can get a return of up to $42 on average in sales stemming from email marketing. Just to draw some comparison, plan is $5.50 for influencer marketing and $2 for paid search. So with the highest ROI compared to the other channels, undeniably, our good old email marketing is definitely very much alive and here to stay. Well, now we have established, and hopefully I've further convinced you on the importance of email marketing, we actually have a problem. So with 350 billion emails being sent daily to and from 4.3 billion users, it creates saturation, also known as the sea of sameness. So just like this picture, your emails could get lost in the crowd. And let me further explain what this means. So this is an example from my personal inbox last Friday. In a span of less than 24 hours, I received 17 promotional emails and counting. And this doesn't include my spam folder. And for context, I'm a very active unsubscriber. So a typical Geraldine move as someone who could not stand having unread emails was to select all and mark them as read. I probably took about 3 seconds to quickly comb through the subject lines and classified them as irrelevant marketing promotions, and then went straight back to preparing my webinar deck. The irony. So what can marketers do to reduce the probability of this Geraldine scenario from happening? And how can you stand out from the sea of sameness? Well, I'm going to share a couple of tips that I have personally stolen from my head of marketing in MessageBird with all of you today. And before I start, I have some good and bad news for you. And I read your minds that you would probably want the bad news first, am I right? So the bad news is that everything you need to know about email marketing has already been done. Well, except for one thing, which I will share at the end, so stay with me. Well, there's not much of a reinventing of the wheel or anything groundbreaking per se. So all you need to do is to keep an eye out for inspiration and to keep an eye out for what others are doing. Everything that experts say is true and it is false. So what works for your brand may not necessarily work for the other. And we all know that consumer sentiment is always changing. So data is the ultimate truth. And ultimately, the only way to seek the truth is to test, and test. So with that comes my first tip, segment ruthlessly. So strong segmentation is really foundational to making emails work. So the beauty of it lies in the complexity. I know we rarely get to say that, but with segments, the more layers we can add on, the more precise our communications can be. And this is the fundamental to localization and personalization. So if you take a look at this animation in front of you, it's really all about peeling the layers, going deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's how you gain greater clarity on your customers' preferences and traits. So speaking about complex layers, imagine being able to use all 14 layers that you see in front of you listed on this slide for your segmentation. That would be awesome and that would be ideal, right? But it isn't always possible. So the aim should be to have as many of these or other layers of segmentation as possible. So no other marketing channel gives you such a rich view of what customers like and dislike. You can gather lots of data and tune your email marketing to give your subscribers a personalized and tailored experience. Due to the constraint of time, I'll briefly cover the first two with examples, but very happy to share all offline. All right, the first example I'm using shows how this brand intelligently segmented the same email by Joe and managed to localize the title and subject lines with ease, helping increase engagement by 4%. Well, you do not need to think of it in a very complex manner, but sometimes it really pays to just be thoughtful and making that small tweak that will give you a very big impact. And moving on to the second point, if you know from previous emails and purchases what products a particular consumer likes to buy or even browse, you can include this in your email marketing to them. So this is a great example of segmenting by past purchases by sharing relevant content to audiences to help them along the parenting journey. So this is an email sent to a buyer buying baby diapers from the same e-commerce website over a period of time. So typically you start from one age range and then over time transition to the next. So the website did a really good job of using a series of past experiences, purchases to estimate when the child will be growing out of using diapers and took the efforts to become part of the buyer's parenting journey rather than just make the next best logical offer. And what this creates ultimately is brand loyalty and the element of trust. And if you recall, one of the most important drivers of a purchase decision, is trust. Tip number 2, make counterintuition work. So as the name suggests, sometimes being unconventional and defying logic may just surprise you with unexpected positive outcomes. Been doing quite a bit of talking. And once again, hopefully everyone is still with me. looking at this advertisement as well as these two illustrations over here, can anyone guess what brand is this for? And yes, it's indeed IKEA. Fun fact, I actually researched on the difference between IKEA and IKEA and how do I pronounce it right in front of all of you. And I found that IKEA is actually the Swedish way of pronouncing, whereas IKEA is American. But frivolous details aside, great guesses. And it's very interesting how we all relate to IKEA with beautiful homes, functional furniture, great designs and style, and almost anyone who's been to an IKEA store can almost always identify IKEA merchandise quite easily. And we do this despite the actual shopping experience looking like this, right? So I'm sure most of us have experienced the shopping experience in the store. To get that one item that you have in mind, you have to walk through the entire maze that they put you through. So a few weeks ago, when we ran a workshop with this same image, we asked the participants how long would they spend in an IKEA store, and someone's answer left an impression. He said, depends on whether you're shopping with the wife. Well, that's pretty true, I will agree. And I would say that IKEA's way of making your shopping experience almost inconvenient actually helped the brand in building a very strong brand image and being instantly recognizable by many. And here are some of the other examples that you can make counterintuitiveness work for you. So we've all heard of best days and times to send emails. So which ones are yours? Let's say Tuesday 11 a.m. or Thursday 3 p.m. are the best times to send emails, and we all agree. What happens next? We all start sending emails at that time because it's the best practice. And what do you think happens to recipient inboxes? Flooded, right? And what's the likelihood of conversion then? So if you recall, that Geraldine inbox scenario will likely happen. None of them will be read, right? Will all be click, read, move on. Food for thought, right? And the same goes with form fields. Sometimes longer forms work because they give you the platform for personalization with the additional data points, as opposed to just collecting very quick information that eventually does not give you sufficient data to create meaningful content. And finally, tip number 3, continuous engagement is key so that your brand always stays top of mind. You should ensure that, number 1, only those who want to receive your emails are receiving them. If you continue to email uninterested subscribers, it will, number 1, hurt your brand reputation and eventually land you in the spam folder. So a reliable sending schedule is very crucial. Your own opted-in database can grow cold if you haven't engaged with them regularly and, of course, relevantly. So here are some examples of brands, what some of the brands are doing out there. So always ensure your customer data is up to date. And the best way to do so is to prompt them and check in periodically. So back to my personal inbox, for example, why I didn't click into any of the emails because none of them are engaging is always a repetition of the promotions they're running, the discounts they're running, and none of them is personalized for me. So sometimes it pays to just pause and think as a consumer while working as a marketer, what would capture your attention and what would make you click? And finally, the storytelling approach may resonate with certain pools of customers who enjoy a bit of humor. So think about how you communicate with your friends and bring that lightheartedness into your email content. It could very well resonate with some of your customers. All right, for those who have been following my sharing closely, I did not forget my promise at the beginning, and I'm going to share a secret sauce for effective email marketing. And it's something that many out there are not aware of and that you could use as your competitive advantage. And that is, yes, access to competitive email data. And you're right, data is always the answer, right? So why does it matter? To say that the more you know, the better you can compete is an understatement. As marketers, you are tasked with creating that edge that helps you stand out. So why does it really matter? Research shows that you can generate 3 times more revenue just by using competitive intelligence. So essentially, we are talking about the ability to gather, analyze, and use information collected on competitors to help you drive more impactful and effective campaigns. So at MessageBird, we actually have our very own competitive tracker tool, which gives you the most comprehensive and accurate competitive email marketing intelligence. So we are the only tool in the market that actively tracks millions of domains across 200,000 brands in over 100 industries. So what this means is you can get access to benchmark performance against key competitors with visibility in their email campaigns, giving you deep insight into competitor email journeys, allowing you to plan ahead for seasonality or follow market changes to compete in the inbox. And we all know what gets compared gets improved. So this tool allows you to identify areas of improvement by comparing your email performance against rival brands to see what is working for them. So all in all, really eliminating the guessing game and improve ROI from your email marketing. So just to give you a bit of illustration, I've captured a couple of screenshots to give you an idea what exactly is competitive intelligence. So what you see here in front of you is a function of what we call brand comparison. So I picked 4 large retailer brands, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with: H&M, Cotton On, Muji, and Uniqlo. So with this brand comparison function, you can easily see the campaign performance across the 4 different brands with a quick overview for easy comparison at a selected period of time. And for those of us who are more visual, you can even see the best and worst performing campaigns and the artworks that are associated with them. So what this means is that you can actually learn from their artworks and designs and even potentially avoiding pitfalls. There are also charts and visuals to illustrate the different campaign elements and metrics such as volumes and read rates. And the interesting thing is you can even go down to most active sending days and times, understand the impact of subject words and open rates. And if you recall, when I talk about, making counterintuitiveness work, this is where you can get the data and potentially give it a go at sending your emails at a time when your competitors are not. And essentially, by making the unknown known, you can channel your efforts in the right direction and make better data-driven decisions. And with that, I conclude my sharing today, and I really, really hope that you took away something useful. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Geraldine, thank you so much for enlightening us, on what impactful email marketing looks like. So I'm sure, yes, since you're ready with the Q&A, so we have a few questions for you, but I think we can only accommodate one as we have to give way to our panel discussion after this. So the question that we have here is, how can marketers leverage dynamic content in programmable emails to deliver personalized and relevant messages based on real-time data?
Yeah, so I think it's back to, what I've shared before, right? Data, when you look at what works and what don't, and it's really down to testing, right? Looking at the impact of your campaigns, making sure you're tracking the right kind of metrics and segmenting to the right kind of target audience, and essentially looking at, the metrics that matter and the segment that you're targeting and the impact. And with that learnings, replicate that and avoid the pitfalls accordingly. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Geraldine. So we've uncovered the world of email marketing and debunked the myth that it's dying, strategy. So, well, all you have to do is to apply art and science, and then there's magic. So now let's move on to the next part of the webinar. We have an exciting panel coming our way, Geraldine. So it's now your turn to moderate this discussion. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Jovan, and apologies that the presentation took some time. So rest assured for everyone who has asked questions on the call, we'll definitely get back to you after the session. So without further ado, it's my absolute pleasure to moderate today's panel discussion. And it's truly an honor to share the floor with marketing leaders from top companies in Southeast Asia. So let me introduce you to each one of them. So joining me today are Nancy Amasco, the marketing director at FlowerStore.ph, who actually joined us in the webinar for omni-channel journey mapping. So welcome back, Nancy. And why don't you introduce yourself and start off with some fun fact?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Geraldine. I'm Nancy. I'm the marketing director of FlowerStore. FlowerStore is the Philippines' #1 online gift store. We also operate in Vietnam and Thailand. Fun fact about me, there was a time, I think 5 or 6 years ago, I thought I could be a writer. Like I really did try, and I just realized, nah, this is not for me. That's why I just continued with my digital marketing career. So here I am. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. So good to have you back. And our second panelist for today is Mr. Ulrich Oh, who is the Vice President of Marketing at Coinhako. Welcome, Arik.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Geraldine. Okay, really nice to meet everyone. So yeah, I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Coinhako. So for those of you guys that don't know who we are, we're actually one of the oldest cryptocurrency exchanges and platforms here in Singapore. We are fully licensed by the government here. Generally, we specialize a lot in fiat currency to cryptocurrency trading here in Singapore. So a bit more about myself. I currently manage all the marketing for the company, which covers all the B2C marketing and also the B2B marketing for our institutional and high net worth clients. A fun fact about myself, I was actually the fifth guy to join the company. Why I got into this space was I really wanted to find a way to not be able to have to work for the rest of my life. So that's how I kind of like jumped into this whole like cryptocurrency space. But it's been quite an incredible journey. Saw the company grow from a very small team of about 7 people to some 200 plus people that we are at today. And yeah, I'm very excited to be on this panel today with the rest of you guys.
Nice. Thank you so much, Arik, for sharing your story with us as well. All right, so to kick off the panel discussion, we want to first dive into understanding your consumers and creating your email marketing strategy around them. So my first question goes to Nancy. So in the previous webinar for omnichannel journey mapping, you mentioned that you don't think email marketing is a dying strategy. So yay to that. And as a gifting brand in various markets like the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam, my question to you is, what do consumers really want to see in brand-led emails, and how frequently do they want to receive them? And a sub-question to that is maybe what sort of time slots are the most optimal in your case?
I think you were able to cover earlier that people really receive tons of emails per day. I myself get a lot of emails every day, not just my business email, but also like for promotions, socials, and updates. So this, I think, makes it really hard and challenging for brands to get the attention of their customers. That's why email personalization has become extremely important for all brands. In terms of brand-led content, I would say, yeah, let's start with personalization. And then I would say dynamic content, like your subject line should be very personalized, put the name of your consumers there, of your recipients there. And then based on their engagement with your brand, if they purchased or subscribed with you, you can do product recommendations with prices based on their purchase journey with your brand. Also call to actions that would lead to your e-commerce website or wherever the landing page would be. It's all about having the dynamic content that would really capture the attention of your market, that they would keep on scrolling on your email. You can put videos there, storytelling type of contents, which you covered earlier, product imagery. I think this would help in ensuring that you capture the attention of your market. But what the most important thing is, you should give them the information, the promotions, the offers in a timely manner, in time slots that you know that they need it the most. In terms of frequency, I would say you have to understand your customers. So you need to do consumer segmentation, do groupings of your customers, and then from there you assess of each group that you have, how often should they receive an email? Is it twice or thrice a week? I cannot tell you because it would really depend on the data that you have. So all you need to do is understand first the data, segment your customers, and from there define how often you would do the blasting or the EDM rollout. In terms of time slots, this one I'm a bit specific because at FlowerStore, we want to capture people who prefer to open their emails in the morning, and those people as well who would prefer to open their emails like later, like in the afternoon or at night. So we try to send as early as 10, between 9 and 10 a.m. So far, this kind of time slot has worked for us. We've experimented before, like we try sending out in the evening, but we've seen that open rates, click-through rates are not there. So I think it's all about also test and learn, like experiment on certain hours that you feel would make sense for your customers. And then once you did your rollout, at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you do a weekly report, a monthly report. It's really up to you, and then analyze which time frame or time slot makes sense for you. At the end of the day, it's all about understanding your customer behavior and the data that you have for email marketing.
Thanks so much, Nancy. I think what we're hearing is segmentation is still ultimate foundation, right? For everything that comes after. You need to identify who the segment is, and then from there, really give that very customized and personalized approach and test, right? The testing element is as equally important to see what works, and then replicating that success as well as avoid potential failures, as we put it. Thanks so much for that. And on to Arik. So being part of the fintech industry, how would you say Coinhako employ email marketing tactics? And perhaps you could share with us what are some of the outcomes in terms of subscriber count and even the timing of the emails, similar to what I asked Nancy earlier.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Geraldine. For us, right, how we use email is very different. So it really depends on, the type of customers you're dealing with. So I think very similar point to what Nancy mentions about segmentation and, finding things that work with your customers. There's a lot of testings that go into it. So generally, for the B2C side, the more retail kind of customers, currently we are using email more for customer activation per se, right? So I think if you guys hear enough about the cryptocurrency industry, I'm sure you guys know what's going on. There's quite a bit of negative sentiment around the market. But one thing that we have is actually quite an extensive base of users itself. So this is one of the key things that we are doing to actually keep our customers engaged, right? Using targeted email content and also to ensure that traffic is still coming to our platform. And on the B2B side, it's probably more of a lead generation tool where, we do build leads or email lists by actually pushing out certain kinds of market insights to people who want the more advanced trading crowd as well, who needs all this kind of trading insights. Okay, so we use our email for different stages of the customer journey, really depending on the kind of customers they're talking about. In terms of the outcomes, right? So I think what we did in the very early days as well, when the team was a lot smaller, we had less resources. It was generally more like a general blast, right? We were just sending out to our entire hundreds of thousands, 100,000 user list. It's a more general blast per se, but what we kind of saw is this kind of created a lot of unsubscriptions at quite alarming rate. We were quite lucky because the growth of our email list kind of outperformed the unsubscriptions in a way. So the list continued to grow, but that was definitely something that kind of prompted us to focus more on targeted content. And I think the last part of this question was really about timing, right? So I think a lot of the general rules of thumbs that I think has been covered today, we don't send emails out during silent hours. I think there's a no sending timing from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. We normally start off testing things if it's B2C, we will look at peak hours, right? On the assumption that people on the transport scrolling through their inboxes, maybe 8 a.m., 9 a.m. rush hour kind of timing, 6 p.m. After work timing as well, when people are catching up on their more personal emails outside of work during these timings. But I think what was really interesting for our industry though, right? And I found what really worked in terms of timing is that our market is very, very sentiment driven, right? If people are feeling positive about this market, there's a lot of bullish pricing, for cryptocurrencies are all in the green today. I would say actually that's the best timing for us to blast our email. So what I would normally do is I'll activate the team to actually push out more, be a bit more aggressive in terms of pushing our email marketing, and not just email, a lot of our other kinds of omni-channel strategies that we employ during this period of time. Because it's so sentiment driven, the interest in the industry is generally a lot higher in this period of time. And what we normally see is higher open rates and better click-through rates. And generally, it kind of ties up the objective of activating users. So the market sentiment is really what makes the difference for us in general.
Thanks, Arik. That's very insightful. And I think just based on what both Nancy and Arik have shared, right? I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of what works really well when you reach out to customers. Ultimately, is thinking from the customer standpoint, right? Sentimental business, right? Similarly, I guess for FlowerStore.ph as well, is a very much driven by customer emotions, customer sentiments as well. You got to understand what that is and approach them with the right kind of messaging and targeting. So let's talk about, since we're on the topic of, that messaging, what email creatives and messaging are best for each generation cohort, right? Now, we know that segmentation is important, and we know that there's a lot of segmentations out there and different customer segments. So primarily, if you focus on the different generations, like your baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and even Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, what sort of email creatives and messaging work best for each of these kind of cohorts, and how do trends, particularly say on social media, affect the younger generation's reaction to marketing. Perhaps Auric, you can attempt at answering this.
I think this is always a very, very interesting use case. Like I genuinely really love talking to like the interns that join my team as well. You know, they have very, very, very different like interests and like insights into what's happening in the whole like digital space right now. But at least what I'm seeing right now is the baby boomers, right? Generally they are very, very price sensitive. And I would say it's not just the baby boomers, like the Gen X as well. And I would say the older half of the millennials as well, right? Because the older half of millennials today, I'm a millennial myself, so most of us, we are actually in like managerial roles. I would say the purchasing power and responsibilities, right? Like a lot of like people around my age, you know, new families as well. So they're very price sensitive, right? So generally, like all these baby boomers, Gen X, and the older millennials is one cohort whereby we would if you like optimize your copies to focus more on like pricing and promotions, normally there's a higher impact. And you can see a lot more open rates, especially if, you know, like if your title like kind of like features like a discount or so. I'm not saying that, you know, like the other like cohorts are not, the other like generations are not so price sensitive. I would say everyone is definitely price sensitive to a certain extent. But I think if you go to the younger half of the millennials and you look at Gen Zs, right? I would say they are more impacted by trends, like what's happening on TikTok, what's happening with like celebrities or some KOL, or like some YouTuber today. So like if you kind of like tailor your copies and your content strategies around these kind of trends, I think generally what I have seen in the past is that it works a lot better with these cohorts.
Yeah, and as we can see, it's a very dynamic kind of content, right? Like you got to keep yourself really, you know, updated on what's happening and what each of this generation per se, right, that we are tagging today are concerned about, right? What is top of mind? What is the in thing of the season, or even like the kind of buzzwords that they use, right, to stay relevant and so that they can resonate with your brand and the way that you reach out to them. Nancy, how about yourself? For your business, do you also segment your customers by like, you know, different generational cohorts?
For us, it's not really more on like generation, like the boomers, the millennials and Gen Zs. For us, it's really more on frequency of purchase and the last time they purchased or engaged with our brand. It's more of that. It's more on purchase behavior for us. Being in the gifting industry, it's very important that we understand how customers are, if they're being loyal to us, or if there's like a churn, or if they're not just, your purchase is not there. So it's more on purchase behavior. That's why in terms of segmentation, we segment our customers based on, for example, people who purchase in the last 3 months. So we create content specific to them. And then we also have a segment where it's focused more on people who purchase to us on specific occasions like birthday, anniversary, just because. So we really target them with offers and promotions that would, or even product recommendations that would make sense for them, because we also want to remind them that, hey, an occasion is coming up. We just want to remind you that we already have the gifting options that you need for birthdays, anniversaries, etc. So it's more on that rather than having it per Gen Z, millennial, etc. It's really more on purchase behavior for us.
Yeah, and I think that makes absolute sense, because just looking at the two business, right? I mean, Coinhako and yours, Coinhako, obviously, their messaging will be very, in a way, generation specific, because the risk appetite, right, for different age groups can be very different. So when they do it by this form of segmentation, then the message will be really powerful for, like, you know, what Auric talked about, maybe people in the millennials, right? They are maybe in the mid-management level. Perhaps they have young families, maybe their risk appetite is not as high as someone maybe Gen Z or Gen Alpha, right, who have a higher risk appetite and things like that. Whereas for your case, it's very much on consumer past purchase behaviors and how that is eventually going to impact their next purchase decision. Yeah, but that's very interesting. So I think it's something that we all need to also keep in mind, that once again, like I mentioned, what works for one brand may not necessarily work for the other. You got to first and foremost understand your customer segment and their behaviors and their, you know, attributes in order to tailor the content accordingly. So since we're on the topic of personalization, so this question is actually for Nancy. As consumers demand more personalized interaction with brands, right? How can brand marketers then develop a holistic email campaign that would deliver very personalized messaging for each stage of the funnel?
Yeah, I think similar to other digital, like for example, if you roll out social media marketing campaign, it's all about understanding your data first. From there, that's why I will focus on 3 things. First is you need to improve your email subscription form. Before, what we do is we just get emails, right? We get their emails and then they're already subscribed to us. And from there, we start our email marketing campaign. But we realize that being in the gifting industry, we need to understand our customers more. We need to get more data so we can provide a personalized recommendations, for example, products, pricing, like what would they prefer in terms of, even for the deliveries, like would they prefer to have it delivered the same day or would they prefer to have it in advance? So these are the things that would help us in expanding our email marketing rollout. That's why I would recommend that instead of just asking for email, you can also ask for of course, your full name, birthday, location, other questions that they are comfortable answering and would make sense for your brand. These things make sense for us because we're very occasion based. In terms of rollouts, campaigns, it's always occasion-based. Also, I think these additional questions will help you understand your customers and will help you to, because segmenting customers is a bit hard, to be honest. And once you have this data, it will help. It will help you tons of. It will save you time. It will save your team in terms of analyzing deeper because you already have the initial data. Now you just have to match it in terms of purchase behavior or how they are engaging with your brand. Second is CRM. I think it's very important for every brand, no matter how small or big, that you integrate your email marketing campaign with a customer relationship management system that will give you additional data on your customers. This will also help you analyze the data that you have, and from there you can create campaigns that would make sense for your customers. And for example, for one segment, you can once you have the CRM, once you have this integration, you will understand that this specific group or segment is very price sensitive. Like this is the only amount that they're willing to spend on a certain gift. That's why it's like we give them product recommendations that's just in that budget. So with the CRM, this helped us do this because before we did not invest in this, and it was just we're just sending generic email, and we're like what I was saying, the unsubscription was high. So this is something that we need to fix. Otherwise, we really can expect that we can really scale through email marketing. So it's very important that you invest on CRM because the return of this would be really massive for your brand as well. Third is segment your customers. I cannot reiterate this enough. It's one thing, segmenting your customers. Of course, you have to segment your customers and then you create content based on the segmentation. Your team might say, we're creating a lot of content for different groups. Why are we doing this? So you need to have that buy-in with your team that we're doing this because we need to, we now understand how our customers are behaving, what kind of content they want to receive. So we need to give it to them. We needed to give it to them. We need to send it to them in a timely manner when they need it the most. So yes, it would it would take time with creating the graphics, etc., doing the segmentation in whatever CRM you're using. But at the end of the day, the return that you have once you do the segmenting your customers and creating the content that would make sense for them, you will see, I think, a good return for your business.
Well,
those are
a lot of great tips. Thanks very much, Nancy. And I'm sure a lot of us on the call can resonate with that. And at least, that definitely overlap with some of the things that we are all trying to do today. And I think we have a number of questions. So the first question that we have is to anyone on the panel. Short form video content is all the rage now. So how can marketers incorporate this engaging format into their email campaigns? Maybe to the both of you, any of you are already using short form video in your email campaigns, and how is that going for you?
Yeah, maybe I can kind of touch base on this because it's quite interesting, right? Well, I was actually waiting for my turn to join the panel, right, and talk to you guys today. I was actually just checking through my team's email. They were about to do an email blast today. So what we are trying to incorporate more is, I wouldn't say like short form video content specifically, but we are trying to implement more GIFs into our emails today. So like some kind of like animated format. I think like the whole short form video trend is more of like a social media thing. I think like IG Reels, TikTok, like a short form video content. These are things that have also, even on social media, the general algorithms are kind of geared such that the reach is a lot higher for like short form video content as well. And there tends to be a lot more engagement relative to non-static posts. So there's definitely a trend there of like higher engagement when it comes to short form video content. But I think for emails, right, more specifically, why we need to implement video format. So like the people that work with me, they know that I like to always ask them, like, when I always like to emphasize that when we are dealing with audiences on digital channels, we are dealing with an ADHD crowd. That's the term I always use, right? You have less than a second to get the attention span of the person and for them to consume whatever that you want them to consume. And that means adding animations, right? So getting the open rates, if you guys are done email marketing, getting the open rates is tough enough really. So you got to test, you got to find the right titles to get them to kind of click through. Then after you actually do get them to open the emails, getting them to actually consume the content is another issue as well. I mentioned there's a very short attention span. Everyone on online just assume like they have ADHD. They need, it's kind of like you just need to get everything out in less than a second. So video formats helps you to stand out from the crowd and allows you to actually tap into that need for like very fast input as well. And I think like this is something that has helped with the amount of time that people actually spend on our emails right now. And yeah, this is something we actually continue to test like different kinds of like ways of delivering like animated content like email. But I'll say in general, yeah, it has improved the engagement environments, and this is definitely something I think most marketers should be trying at this point, to stand out, especially with so much email going on, emails like in inboxes today.
Absolutely. We move on to the next question, and maybe Nancy could help with that. How do you ensure delivery of brand-led emails will not be deemed intrusive by consumers?
Yeah, I think this is more on frequency, because at the end of the day, you don't want to annoy your customers, like sending them every day, emails every day. That's why for us, it's very important that we only send the emails in when we feel that this specific segment or customer group, they're ready to receive it, the offers, the promos, because we know that it's about time that they purchase again based on their engagement or purchases from us. So it's all about frequency. You have to define how often you're going to send that on a weekly basis. And then in terms of being intrusive, just ensure that the content that you have on your email would make sense for them. Don't put anything there that's, I think that's just it's very simple. Don't put anything there that would make sense for them. It should be specific to your brand, but at the same time very customer centric, something that they want to receive from your brand. They subscribe for you for a reason, and as a brand, what you're selling. You want your customers to purchase from you, and that's what they want to hear or receive from you guys. So it's all about understanding your brand, knowing your brand, and then understanding what your customers want to hear and read from you. So it's all about frequency and content.
Perfect. And I think just thinking back from my personal experience when I receive emails, right? I think something that some brands does is to make the unsubscribe easy. I mean, it's not like you're encouraging me to unsubscribe, but really giving that option for me and making it visible, right? On maybe just I've enough and this is not a brand I want to continue interacting with, and having the unsubscribe option for me in a visible manner and not hidden in some tiny text at the end of the email. I think that itself gives me a sense that the brand respects me and is not being intrusive as well. So thanks so much, Nancy, for that.
Agree.
On to
sorry, let me add a point on that.
Sure, of course.
during especially on women's like occasions like Mother's Day, we have this call to action, like if you don't want to receive a Mother's Day email from us, you can opt out, because some of them may have just lost their moms, or things like this. This is like a sensitive kind of thing. So we give them an option to opt out, that they don't want to receive any emails related to Mother's Day. So that's also a good point to share.
Yeah, that's definitely a very, very interesting and relevant example. And the next question is, viral trends spread like wildfire these days, instantaneous and expensive. In terms of moment marketing, how are you able to leverage these quick trends into email-led communications? Anyone want to attempt that? Maybe Arik, since your industry is very fast changing and a lot of things happening all at once.
I guess that's a good way to put it. In terms of tapping into viral trends, I do not really use email to tap onto this, but at least on the social media side of things, the team does kind of tap quite a bit into like trends. So I think how to really like respond as quickly as possible, because like trends happen at any point in time. It can be on a daily basis, can be a weekly basis as well. I think just having a very, very clear cut process, and like in terms of like it's really more operational. Like I would say, like like we have like a certain like BAU pillars on our social media. That goes out on social media as well. I think as part of it, there are certain parameters where we'll prioritize like a viral trend, as opposed to some of the other BAU content. So the team is just really kind of like the team is kind of well prepared to kind of react to these kind of moments. And how do we pick up the trends? That's the thing, right? So we have a very, very on the ball team. Every day they have an update. So we have like on a Slack channel, right? Marketing Slack channel. There's always this person that will like share all the like trends that go on the day itself. And if there's anything that I find that is really, really impactful to the kind of messaging that we're trying to push out at the moment, or it's impactful to the kind of products that we're pushing out, then maybe I highlight it, and then I will like talk to the social media team to kind of maybe just push back some of the other BAU content that we're pushing out, and maybe like get something out for the trend stuff. But in terms of like actually using email, I think that gets a bit more complex as well. And I think it really depends on what your objective is, right? Because if you're trying to tap into virality, generally I would say there's you're trying to get more reach as well. Of course, like, it really depends on the campaign objectives per se. And I think especially in my case, it would be new audiences that I want to reach out to, and email doesn't really work with the objective. So yeah, that's why I don't really use email.
Well, I think that's really interesting to have a team dedicated at making sure that you are keep updated with trends. And I think when you deploy resources and really intentionally do that, that's where you can use that great data and content that you have gotten to then, market back to your customers as well. So the last question for today will be, how do you use email marketing strategies in terms of re-engaging inactive customers? Perhaps this question, Nancy, could help us with that, because I think one of the things you talk about is segmenting customers into their purchase behaviors, right? So I'm sure you have different segments around when is the last purchase and things like that. So perhaps you could shed some light on this.
Yeah, for this one, I think this is what I call come back to us. Just come back. And for this, you have to create content that would really give them a reason to come back to your brand. Like, okay, probably I just forgot about FlowerStore.ph and I have to check them out again. So you need to give them reasons to visit your website, your app again. And for this, usually we have this segment, like for example, people who purchased in the last more than 15 months ago. So this, we call them the inactive customers. They're not, they haven't unsubscribed yet. It's just that they haven't purchased in the last 15 months. So what we do is we reintroduce our brand to them, like our USP. We do free same-day delivery. We introduce our USPs, free same-day delivery. We have the largest collection of flowers and gifts. And then we offer different kinds of payment method like cashless and COD. And then we also create a specific. So far, this has been very effective in terms of getting conversions. So once we get them to convert, we move them to a segment. So they're no longer in the inactive phase. It's all about reintroducing our brand, give them a reason to purchase again. Second is to offer them a special voucher. This one, it's really more on trying your products again, making that purchase so they will experience what FlowerStore is all about again. Third is we one thing that's very effective for us is we and the email is we add customer reviews. This is a good way to say that we really deliver the best quality of gifts to you guys. That's why most of our customers, they're repeat buyers. So it's all about curating content specific to this segment. Just remind them again why they purchased from you before, or why they've engaged with your brand before. And a special offer is also a good trick, just so they will try or purchase your products again.
Maybe can I add one point for this? I think this is very, very relevant to what's happening. Like my marketing team, actually, we're actually spending a lot of time talking about how to reactivate active users, right? So currently our space, honestly, like the industry as a whole is a bit of like a negative sentiment around it. So what we're actually seeing is we're actually seeing very high amounts of traffic coming to our app still. But the problem right now is that they're not purchasing, they're not depositing money and so on. So we're actually spending a lot of time on email automations right now, working with various canvases, identifying various user segments and building the canvases around on that. So currently we're working with like different cohorts, like people who have not made a trade in the last 30 days, people who have not made a trade in the last 90 days, and we kind of build a canvas around that, like to activate them along different parts of the journey. So we use like a two-prong approach, which is email marketing and push notifications, to actually try to like improve the conversion rates along the user journey. So I would say, definitely, if you have the capacity, go and invest in email automations. I think that has worked quite a bit of wonders for us so far in terms of like generating, increasing output of like targeted content to the right people as well. Yeah, but it is quite a bit of groundwork at the beginning, but once you get everything up and going, I would say it's actually like you end up saving a lot of time further down the line, and you focus more on like optimization, user journey optimization, rather than having to think about new campaign and content along the way. Yeah, and you basically using less. It kind of helps to make things a lot smoother for you as a marketer eventually.
Yeah, I think ultimately that's where some of your vendors in the space come into play, right? Like to help you to do things easier and to help you to scale your business. So thank you so much both for your sharing. I know we are top of the hour, but I really want to end off with today's session, just asking one last question to the both of you. Just a short 60-second answer will do. Could you just share with every one of us on the call today? I mean, we're at the half-year mark, right, in June right now of the year. What is one greatest learning that you have in the last 6 months when it comes to reaching out to our customers on the email channel that you would like to share with the rest of us? Maybe Nancy, on to you first.
I think it's all about stick to your brand image, to your brand core, and then create personalized contents that would make sense for your customers. For us, we just really stopped sending generic emails, and it really gave us a good, in terms of open rate, click-through rate, conversion. Our metrics were high the moment after we changed the strategy for email marketing. So it's all about personalized content. I think not just for email marketing, but across different channels that you have. I think this will also, you'll have a better connection with your customers when they feel that you're actually connecting with them in a human way. And then if they really just want to feel that the brand understand them and understand what they need from you guys. So it's all about creating personalized content for your customers.
Thanks, Nancy. And Arik, how about yourself?
For me, it's just test, like just keep testing, like we have different kinds of hypotheses, make sure that there's data to back up what you're doing. Data really tells really gives you like a whole different picture, especially, I think there's a very interesting animation that Jeremy shared at the beginning. So as you start to deep dive into like more granular details, right, of data, right, you actually find very, very interesting insights as well, and that usually opens you up to a lot of new actionables and also a lot of new opportunities for marketers to actually get more business for the companies they're working at.
Great point. I think back to, things are always changing, customer sentiment is always changing, right? So what works today or what used to work may not necessarily work forever. So I think we're always in the process of keep doubling down on what works, but at the same time, finding new ways to do it, right? To future-proof our businesses. All right, I think we'll come to the end of today's panel discussion. Thank you so much, Nancy and Ulrich, for your time today. I think those are really, really great and very practical insights that we all can take back and learn. On to Jovan to wrap up the session.
All right, so thank you so much to each of our speakers, Nancy, Ulrich, and also Geraldine. So we have all agreed that email marketing is not dying. It's very much alive. So use the data that you have effectively, segmentize your customers, and personalize your messages to make your email campaigns relatable to your audience. As what Ulrich said earlier, keep testing, right? So we also have reached the end of the webinar and have achieved impactful strategies that can enhance our email marketing strategy. So we'll definitely much more confident to face the new phase of CX. So as we conclude the webinar series, we would like to thank MessageBird, who's been our partner for this webinar series, which started in April this year. So if in case you missed the first 2 webinars of the series, we will provide you with the details in our follow-up emails, and we will try our best to personalize it for you, okay? We also would like to invite you to honor women marketing leaders for our Empowered Women Awards 2023. So aside from giving the spotlight to all of our APAC-wide winners, part of the award ceremony are fireside chat and panel discussions with select winners on leadership and also marketing strategies. You can scan the QR code to register for their live virtual award ceremony on June 27, 2023. That's going to be 4 to 6 p.m. Singapore time. Thank you once again for joining us. My name is Jovan. Keep evolving. Bye, guys.